Hey everybody, welcome to another Friday workshop. Um, I did get an emailed question in here. Hopefully you guys can see this on the notepad. I'm going to start today's workshop off with that. Alright, so here's kind of the premise. Our primary data series, George wants to use the YM. But with BloodHound, it really doesn't matter. So the primary data series is always whatever the chart is set to, right? Whatever the chart is set to, that's always the primary data series for BloodHound, and that's true for all indicators running on your chart, right? Any indicator that's running on your chart here, right? All these indicators, the primary data series is whatever the chart is set to, right? Okay, so the primary data setters, it says the YM, so I'll change my chart to the YM. So now here's kind of the key part of the question that needs to get answered, is that we're going to use a secondary data series, right? And what a data series is, so data series is used quite a bit with NinjaTrader. So when you say data series and there's a space, right, what that means is basically that's your instrument data. So on this chart, the data series, or a better way of saying it, right, if you right click, right, you see how they spell data series with a space in between, right? So that's basically your chart data. So for this chart, it would be the oil. For this chart over here, right, that would be the ES on daily, right? So that's the data series. So what George is using is he's got a secondary one, right? So he wants to use the exchange's tick data for this condition. So he wants to analyze the tick data coming from the exchange, and so this tick data is let's see if hopefully I explained this correct. It's a measurement of prices going up or prices going down across the whole exchange. So tick, I believe, comes from the NYSE exchange, the New York Stock Exchange. We'll find out in a minute. So, right, so he's using that data as his exit condition. So the ultimate goal here is to build a exit signal or an exit condition. All right. So let's see. Let me pull up the right chart here, and yeah. All right. So I'm gonna work on this chart here. So let me reset my chart. Okay. All right. So we're going to switch this over to the YM. Okay, so we're on the YM, and let me clear these indicators off so those indicators aren't needed. All right, so the first thing that we're going to have to do is, since we're using a secondary data series, well, actually, that's not true, but that's not true with BloodHound. But what I was going to say is that normally when you want to use a secondary data series, NinjaTrader typically will require you to add that to your instrument list, right? So typically you're going to have to go into your instrument list and add that into that tick data into this default list here. But let me take a moment here and update some of these old contracts. So, if you guys don't know about this, a quick little shortcut to replace your old contracts here, right? So you can see I'm selecting the June 2015 contract. All you have to do is remove it and then click the add button, and boom, it pops up the most current instrument month there. So let's update the NQ. Just remove it and add it, and bingo. Okay, so the tick data is a part of the index subcategory. So I'll switch this to that and scroll down here, tick. All right, so tick. Let me see if, yeah, they didn't provide any description on what this data is. Anyways, so we're just going to add that. You know, a lot of times if you want to use a secondary data series, you have to add it to your default list. So just a little ninja tip there. All right, so let's see, going into BloodHound here. So, all right, so I've got BloodHound on the chart, and let's open this up. And I'll start off by giving my BloodHound system a name. So we'll just use, switch this over to today's date. There we go. All right, so let me kind of explain some more background information about BloodHound. So let's pull up the question here. So remember how I was talking about the primary data series here. So in this case, it's the YM, right? So the primary data series is always whatever your chart is set to. And so in BloodHound's case, the default time frame is always your primary data series, right? So the default time frame always refers to whatever the chart is set to, right? So in this case, it's the YM on a 1 minute chart. Okay. So to add a secondary data series, right? To add this tick, all we need to do is click the chart button there, and we're gonna actually this time specify an instrument. So let's go in here and okay, so and you can see right there the tick now shows up under my default list there. Let's see, if I didn't have it in my default list, all right, this is a ninja tip because this interface here is pulled from NinjaTrader, right? This is NinjaTrader's little interface that we're accessing. So if we don't have the tick data in our default list, you just can go in here and we could select index, and then see, yeah, there we go, and that pops it out, and then we could find, you know, whatever instrument we're needing here. So I can select tick like so. All right, and there we go. I would suggest, I would suggest for the sake of synchronizing different data series that you set the time frame or set your period to match whatever your chart's on, right? It's just going to be far more reliable if you do that. So since my chart's on a 1 minute, I'll leave my period on a 1 minute there. Okay, so there we go. So the default time frame is going to be the YM, and there's our tick data. And so let's see. All right. Well, so from there, let me just switch over to the logic board here, and we'll work on that. Okay. Okay. So, give this some kind of a name there. So this type of condition that we have here for our exit conditions. Since we're looking for the tick data to be either greater than 1,000 or less than negative 1,000. Essentially these are threshold values. All right. So the simplest way to do this would be to use a threshold solver for this. All right, so you'll notice when I go to the solver nodes here, right, I have the default time frame, so I could create a new threshold solver on the default time frame, which would be the YM data, but we want to use the tick data as our exit condition. So I'm going to go down here to the tick data, and I'm going to build a new threshold solver on that tick data there, and connect it up. And let's see, let's give this some kind of a name here. All right, so we're going to exit, and let's see here, there we go. All right, so we're actually looking at the ticks data. So what that is price, right? The tick data isn't actually price, but that's how you would refer to it within NinjaTrader, right? So we're going to set our type to price, right? And we're actually going to access the closing price of the tick data, and that's how you would access the tick data. All right, so the tick data really isn't an instrument; it's an index, but you would use the closing price. That's how NinjaTrader would refer to it when you're accessing that instrument's data. All right, so the next step here is we'll put in 1,000, and to get a clean digital signal, we're actually going to put 1,000 in there twice. And then down below, we're going to put in negative 1,000, like so. And let me open this up a little bit. Okay, so now we need to decide when do we want a long output and when do we want a short output. So if you're in a long position here, so to exit a long position, when the tick is greater than 1,000, that's when we want to exit a long position. So to exit a long position, Raven needs to see a short signal. So we want to use a short output when greater than 1,000. So, and that will exit a long position. So to exit in a short position, right, when the tick is less than negative 1,000, we want to use a long signal here. So we're going to set a 1 there. Right, and essentially that is it. And let's see, I'm pretty positive I do not have access to tick data, so we're probably not going to see anything, but you should have seen that on the chart there, that it said to refresh the chart. And yes, so as expected here, so what BloodHound's telling me is that I do not have that data. So that data is missing. So, all right, my kinetic data feed doesn't have index data. So we're not going to see anything on my charts here. But this is how it would, this is how you would set up a threshold solver for that exit condition. Pretty straightforward, right? And if we look at the solvers tab, we'll see here's that threshold solver, right? And it's sitting underneath the tick data there. Yeah, oh, so here's a little ninja tip, right? So you know, remember how, let me just change this again here. So, right, so I'm on second minute, so let me cycle through to the backtest Renko. So you notice how I got these crazy default settings, so I must have accidentally one time just did that. So if you have some default settings here that you don't like and you want to get rid of those permanently, and basically go back to the bars default setting, here's what you can do. Let me close this out. So what you do is you go into NinjaTrader 7's folder here, and you'll find, let's see, sort this by alphabetical. So you'll find a templates folder, right? So NinjaTrader stores all kinds of stuff in this templates folder here. So you'll see indicators. When you set a indicator default value, that's stored in this indicator folder. And so let's see, chart series. Yeah, so I think bar types, you'll find the default settings in this chart series. And let's see that the backtest Ranko, let's see, is going to be custom 9, I believe. Yeah. So if we delete that file, like so, you'll see I even have default settings for the minute bars and range and Rankos. But if we delete that file, now if I go into my data series, and now let's go to the backtest Ranko. There we go. Now you can see the default settings went back to normal, right? 4, 1, and a reversal of 7. All right, another ninja tip of the day. Yeah, so going back to the templates folder, you know, if you have an indicator where you created default settings, and you want to clear those, you know, for example, let me open up this indicator here, right? So if you go in here and you right click and you do this set default stuff for your indicators, and you want to clear that out, you can just go into the indicator folder, and you'll see I've got, you know, defaults for lots of indicators here, primarily because I like to set custom colors up for my indicators and stuff like that. But you're right, so you can just find the indicator and just delete that file, right? So one thing I do recommend is that you actually don't have a set default for BloodHound. So that can, what happens is, well, yeah, let me give you an example. So I've seen customers do this from time to time. All right, so let me select BloodHound here, and you see how I have a file loaded into BloodHound here, right? So I've seen customers, you know, just click and set a default like that, right? So what happens is, let me click OK, and so I'm going to remove BloodHound. All right, and so that's just let's just pretend that this is a brand new chart here that you opened up, and you're like, okay, I want to put BloodHound on my chart. So we go find BloodHound, and I put BloodHound on here, and you see how BloodHound automatically loaded this file here. Well, if you at some point delete this file, then NinjaTrader has a hissy fit, you know, because NinjaTrader can't find this BloodHound file, you know, to load up your default settings with anymore, and NinjaTrader throws a little error message. So you know, these default setting files, you know, that are in the templates folder, if any setting or any component in these files is missing, NinjaTrader does not know how to handle that, and it throws an error message. So you got to be, you know, kind of cautious when you're setting these default settings. So I'm actually going to go in here and delete this BloodHound default file now, just to be safe. I guess this is kind of a NinjaTrader NinjaTrader tips day workshop. So what will slow NinjaTrader down, what will slow your charts down, is essentially the number of bars on your chart. So let's see, let me see if I have this little indicator here to kind of illustrate my point. Here's a little indicator I downloaded from Big Mike's, and I just use it for when I'm testing stuff, debugging stuff, whatever. So let me get this, and all it does is it prints the bar number on the chart. So it's useful for giving you a reference. So if you've got error number, you know, if you're getting error messages and it says, you know, such and such indicator crashed on this bar. This little indicator can pinpoint which bar it crashed on. There we go. Okay, so here, this Renko, right? So I have a Renko bar on here, right? It's a 4 brick with a 10 reversal. Although, well, since this is in backtest mode, it's not really a 4 brick anymore. So the important thing is that a new bar is built every tick, right? So you see, right? So the one thing about Renko bars, right, is from one bar to the next bar, all price just has to move 1 tick, and it makes a new bar. So with 1 day of data, I've already got 4,200 bars on my chart. Right, so now let's go and let's do something more reasonable. Say, like, some people are going to have 10 days of data on their chart. And now let's see how many bars are generated after that. So, all right, we'll just have to wait a moment for Ninja to pull all that data down. Okay, so I put 10 days of data, and look, now we're up to 52, almost 53,000 bars. And that's only 10 days of data. Right, now, let me just make a simple adjustment here, right? So I've got a bar, a new Renko bar being built on every new, whenever the bar moves 1 tick, and then it reverses whenever price moves 10 ticks, right, we get a reversal bar. Now let me just adjust this down just to 8, right? So let's keep in mind, so we're at 52,700 bars so far. So I'm going to change my reversal to 8, and now let's see how many bars are generated. And wow, that was pretty quick. So now we're up to 65,500, right? Making that small change added 13,000 bars to my chart. So the number of bars on your chart is what slows everything down, especially if you're doing back testing and stuff like that. So, all right, so just be mindful that when you're using Renko bars, or Renko bars are notorious for building a lot of bars on your chart, right now, if I refresh my chart, it's going to refresh very quickly because all I got is 2 moving averages and basically an empty BloodHound system. So I don't have any indicators being calculated. But if I had a complex BloodHound system and I had a bunch of custom third-party indicators that are doing some complex calculations, right? You can see how stacking all those indicators, and BloodHound on your chart is going to require a lot more time, to compute all that data, and then on top of that, using these Renko bars generates a lot of bars on your chart, right? So, I don't know what the threshold is. It really depends on the indicators you have on your charts, how complex your BloodHound system is, but eventually you're going to reach a point, where you have so many bars on your chart that it really just takes NinjaTrader a long time to calculate. And of course, it also depends on how fast your computer is, right? So, for example, my computer is running at 3.5 gigahertz. So I'd say that's pretty standard for today's computers. If you're for your trading computer, 3.5 gigahertz i7 is not all that expensive by today's standards. So things run decently well. But if you're running on a laptop, most laptops are around 2 gigahertz. to 2.5 gigahertz. Of course, NinjaTrader is going to run a lot slower. So there's just a lot of things that come into play with with how slow your charts update and refresh and things like that. So let's see. All right, so we got another question from Mike about Windows 10. So no, Mike, all reports have been that Windows 10 works fine with NinjaTrader and it works fine with BloodHound. So I can tell you that as long as NinjaTrader runs fine in any version of Windows, then BloodHound will as well. So BloodHound is locked to the same C#.NET framework that NinjaTrader uses. So BloodHound doesn't require any special version of Windows or any special version of C#.NET, which is a programming language. It uses whatever NinjaTrader uses. So that way we don't have to worry about installing special stuff to get BloodHound to work, right? So we know that as long as Ninja runs fine, BloodHound's going to run fine. Okay, and let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Mike said he ordered more RAM for his computer. That's really not going to help. Ninja 7 is optimized. Let's see. Let me pull up my task manager here. And let's pull up Ninja. So Ninja is optimized, and that's right. So there's my NinjaTrader, right? And you can see it's only using 181 megabytes, right? It's not even using a gig yet, but NinjaTrader really only uses 1 gig of RAM at most. It'll go over that a little bit, but not very much over 1 gig. So if you've got 4 gigs of RAM on your computer, that should be fine. As long as you're not running a lot of other software in the background that's eating up your memory, 4 gigs is fine. Ninja 7 was actually engineered for only 2 gigs of RAM, because back when Ninja 7 came out, 2 gigs of RAM was kind of high end back then. So 4 gigs of RAM is fine. 6 gigs, 6 to 8 gigs, I say, is kind of more optimal, but 4 gigs and 6 gigs is fine. So really what's the most important here for NinjaTrader is your CPU speed, your processor speed. Excuse me. So getting the number of gigahertz up as high as possible is far more important to NinjaTrader than the memory that you've got. Just another little Ninja tip. So if you're when you're shutting down at the end of the day, if you have Raven running and stuff and you want to shut down your NinjaTrader at the end of the trading day, what's always good to do is to use Ninja's Flatten everything. So this is a good way that NinjaTrader will go in and kind of tidy things up. All right, so NinjaTrader will go in and flatten any kind of sim trade that you might be doing, using Raven. If you're kind of doing any back testing and stuff, Raven or Ninja will basically flatten out any of your sim trades, and of course it'll flatten out any live trades that you have going as well. So just be aware of that. But this is kind of a really good way, a proper way to shut down all your strategies to make sure that you don't have any contracts, whether they're sim contracts or live contracts, to make sure that you don't have anything left open. So if I hit that flatten everything, you can see Ninja shut down Raven for me. So, and it made sure that there were no positions left open as well. So what I think I've gathered so far is that you want to take the trade on the 60 tick chart. You want that to be in the same direction as on the 60-minute chart right, and you're using the something like this anaSuperTrend to determine the trend. Right, I take it you're using an indicator similar to this anaSuperTrend to determine the trend. So you want to take a trade on the 60 tick chart in the same trend direction as your super trend indicator on the 60-minute chart. All right, okay. So, all right, yeah, I think I got it now. Okay, great. All right. Okay, let me just kind of set some things up here. Okay. All right. So let's get BloodHound open. All right. We'll start with a new logic template. Let's see. All right. So I need to kind of, come up with a name here. Let's see. I created an extra logic template. Let me delete that one. There we go. All right, so I'm not sure what to call this system, but there we go. So 2 time frame super trend direction trade. All right, so let's see. The first thing we want to do is, we'll want to get the trend direction from the 60-minute chart here. All right, so let's see. So we need to add a 60-minute time frame here. Right, so let's set that up. Okay, and right as soon as we add that chart, we now need to refresh this chart. We need to refresh the chart itself as soon as we add a time frame to BloodHound. Okay, so now BloodHound has this 60-minute data to work with, and all right, so what we're doing, so to use an indicator like the anaSuperTrend to determine what the trend direction is, let's see, there's 2 ways we could do this. We could just see which plot is actually plotting. Is the red plot plotting, or is the blue line plotting, or I would say what's probably more appropriate is to compare price to the plot. So we can say, is price above the plot, the indicator plot, or over here is price below the plot line, right? So that's how I'm going to set this up. That's how I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to say, is price above our our super trend indicator, or is price below our super trend indicator? Right. So to do that, we're going to use the comparison solver. All right, so the comparison solver, really all it does is it checks to say, is one plot above or below the other plot, or is price above or below some indicator or something like that. All right, so there we go. Got this up. All right, so we're comparing price to an indicator. So in indicator A, we're going to set this to price, and we'll just look at the closing price. That'll work just fine. And down here, B, so this is where we're going to set indicator B to the super trend indicator. So let me scroll down and find that. There it is. All right, so I'm just using the default settings here, so I don't need to change anything. But if you're using custom settings on your chart, you need to make sure that BloodHound matches those same settings, stuff like that. All right. All right, and so the next thing is we need to pick the plot that we're comparing against, right? So I know with the super trend, I know the stop dot are the little dots that we see on the chart, and the stop line is just the line that connects the dots together. So both of these plots are really plotting the same thing here. So we'll just leave the stop dots selected. And oh yeah, here's another thing that it has an uptrend also built into it. So it's kind of another way that you could do this, but and all right, so here we go. So we can see on this chart, it's all green, and it's going to be green for a long time because this is a 60-tick chart, and we're comparing it against a 60-minute chart. And yeah, this 60-minute chart, man, we were in an uptrend for quite a long time. So let's see, let's go back. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So somewhere around 1700 hours, right? That's when our indicator flipped on us, is somewhere around 1700 hours. So there we go. All right, so this solver here is looking at the trend of the 60-minute chart, you know, the trend of the anaSuperTrend indicator. Okay, so there's kind of our directional filter. And now the next thing is we'll build a signal whenever price crosses our indicator plot, like so. All right. So to do that, let's move this over here. So to do that, right, we want to identify this bar here where price crosses that indicator plot. Right, we want to find that crossover point. And we want to do that on the default time frame, right? So as I explained earlier, BloodHound's running on a 60-tick chart, and so that is our default time frame. So let's grab a crossover solver, like so. And let's see, let me just take a look at the board here. Alright, I don't think I see any other comments on here, so it looks like I'm in the right track. Okay, just a moment while I clear out all the comments on the board here. Okay. Alright, so now we've got our crossover solver. I'm going to connect that up to the result node here. And so we're looking for price to cross an indicator. So I'm going to set A to price, and we'll just look at the closing price. And I'm going to set B to our anaSuperTrend indicator. Right, there we go. And so we're looking for price to, once again, to cross this stop dot or stop dot plot line. Okay, so now let's look at our chart and look. So there's our crossover points identified, right? So that tells me that that we've got this solver set up correctly. So I can see whenever price crosses it, our indicators flip. So everything looks good so far. All right. Let me shrink this chart up a little bit. Okay. There's a bunch of signals on the chart. All right. So now the last step is we're going to join them together with an AND node. Plug that crossover in. All right. So we can see on the chart, right, we've got long and short signals, and as soon as I connect our 60-minute trend filter in, Now that's going to filter out all those short signals. Right, so now you can see all these short signals had disappeared. Oh yeah, the cool thing about the anaSuperTrend indicator is it puts this little arrow up there. Right, so if you let's take a look at our crossover condition. Right, you'll see that BloodHound. Right, you can see the BloodHound signals correlate with the arrows. So the arrows actually come 1 bar late. Right. So whenever we see that red arrow, we know that we had a crossover condition. And so if we take a look at the AND node where everything's filtered out, right, we can see there's no short signal now where those arrows are. Right. So and if I scroll back to yesterday, when yesterday was in a downtrend, there we go. And bingo. So here's yesterday around 1700 hours. So we can see we went from short signals to long signals. All right. So there you go, Aki. Let's see. And you're saying, and can we play ATM? I'm not sure what you mean by play ATM. Oh, okay. So, all right. So you want to test this in a strategy. Gotcha. All right. So let's close that out. And we'll go to our strategies here and grab Raven. All right. We got Raven. So with Raven, we're going to start at the top and just kind of work our way down with all the settings until we get to the enable section, then we'll turn it on. Alright, so starting at the top, let's load up today's BloodHound template. There it is. Alright, let's take a look at the system. So it looks like it's all connected correctly. That looks good. Alright, we'll set our entry logic. We'll set it to that logic template. Alright, we'll just submit market orders. So I'm going to leave the limit orders turned off, and that'll submit a market order. Alright, we do want to do some back testing, so I'm going to set this to true. And now you can see the back testing mode opens up. Right, so when it's false, there's no back testing. So the start auto enabled on needs to be set to true, so we have back testing. And so the next thing we need to do is just kind of decide on what profit target and what stop loss. So I don't know, I'll just throw something in there, and we'll turn a trailing stop on there. All right, let's turn this on. And let's see, let me text and markers is on. Let's take a look at the strategy performance. And didn't take any trades. Let's see. All right, let me go back into Raven here, and maybe I forgot to do something. All right, so if you want to make any changes to your strategy, you can see how they're all grayed out. So we have to turn the strategy off, hit apply, and now we can make some changes here. So let me just kind of go through everything and make sure. Let's see if I've set something up wrong. see, I don't see anything, but I think what I need to do is, yeah, I need to get rid of that one solver. Let's see. Yeah, I need to get rid of that one solver that I don't have data for, right? Because remember, I don't have tick data, so yeah, that's probably interfering. So let me delete that. Oops. I actually have to go in here, and I'm going to delete this logic template. And now I can go and delete that solver and delete that time frame. Alright, so that should get rid of the error message. Okay, great. Error message is gone. And so now let's go back into Raven. Alright, so here's something good to note, right? So the work that I just did it in BloodHound, right? So all I have, we can see down here in the lower panel, right, this is BloodHound running down here. So I made the change in BloodHound, okay? So that does not update Raven. So what I have to do is I have to reload this file into Raven for those changes to take effect, right? So if I open up BloodHound in Raven, right, you can still see that tick chart is still on there, right? So what you have to do is you have to reload the BloodHound file, and there, now you can see that tick chart data is missing now. All right, so there we go. Click OK. We're still going to use the same logic template as our entry signal. Let's see, everything else is still on, still set correctly, so let's enable this. And now we can see Raven's doing some back testing, right? See how the buttons are flickering? So that kind of tells you that Raven is, the buttons flicker because Raven is submitting the order to NinjaTrader. All right, and then NinjaTrader tracks the performance of the trade there. All right, so let's take a look at our performance, and there we go. So let's see, that's 5 days worth of data. All right, so not a lot of data, but so there it is. All right, Icky, any other follow-up questions on this? Yeah, if you want to get details on how this is really operating, right? We can stretch our chart out, and you can take a look at where your entries and stops and stuff are getting hit. So yeah, let me kind of zoom in here, right? So NinjaTrader is going to tell you, right here is our entry. So let me draw a little arrow here, right? So there's our long signal. So Raven or BloodHound, I'm sorry, or Ninja, right? Tells you that this is our long signal. And then up here, if we look at the text, right, this is actually a long stop loss. So that hit our stop loss up there. And let's take a look back here. Let's see. So let's see. Yeah. So we can, if we look at the text, right, so we got a short entry, and then we had a stop loss there, right? We had a stop loss, and I know it says long stop loss, but it's really not a long stop loss. That's just a technical little technical text bug there. So that's actually going to get fixed in the next update to BloodHound. So, but anyways, so the magenta little arrow, right? That's the entry, and then the blue one is the stop loss. So, and keep in mind that NinjaTrader is actually what's determining when your stop loss gets hit. It's not Raven. So Raven has no control over determining whether your stop gets hit or not. It's NinjaTrader's framework that tracks, all this backtesting results. All that your strategy does. So all that Raven does is Raven just tells NinjaTrader, okay, get in, go short with a market order, and then NinjaTrader determines what price that market order got filled at, and then the strategy says, okay, now set my stop loss, and then NinjaTrader determines whether your stop loss got hit or not. So, all right, let's see. And okay. So Icky wants to do it with an ATM. So that's one of NinjaTrader's limitations. So let's turn this off. All right. So Raven has this ATM option, but NinjaTrader cannot backtest an ATM. So you'll notice that you see how the backtest disappears. So we hid the backtest to kind of give you guys the hint that Ninja cannot backtest your ATM, right? So if we put it back on default, you'll see the backtest mode shows back up again. But on ATM, the Ninja can't backtest an ATM. So I could put one in there, but nothing's going to happen. Let's see. First, I need to get the name of an ATM. All right, let's see, 2010-7. So what I just did is I just went and found the name of one of the ATMs I've already got defined. So if I put this on here, all right, so BloodHound, target 20, stop was 10, quantity was 7. And turn this back on. And if we run this, Ninja's not going to do anything. Right? No backtest results for an ATM. Right? So if you do want to backtest an ATM, what you have to do is you have to use Ninja's market replay connection. So, alright, so this is the only way that Ninja can backtest an ATM is to run the market replay. Right, so you'll have to download all the market replay data that you want to backtest against, and then just use the market replay. Right, so, and that just takes too long to demonstrate in these workshops. So, all right, right, and so if you're not sure how to use the market replay, then NinjaTrader has training videos on their YouTube page that can show you how to use the market replay. So, all right. So, Icky, did we take care of your question? Okay, great. Looks like we did. All right. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Okay. So I hope to see you guys next Friday, and have a good one. Thanks, guys.